Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. I hope you're having a great day. Hope you can all hear me. If you can hear me, type in the chat box that you can hear me. I'm just doing a last couple of things here. Ta-da. Let's see here. I see some chats going on here. We lower this down so I know that we're doing all here. Let's see here, chats. Hey, Kathy, how are you? Paulette, great to hear you. Loud, loud, loud. Awesome, awesome. Cool. So we're a couple minutes away from. So here's one of the things. The Roys are in the house. Here's one of the things I'm going to ask you. Let's see here. What are three things you want to get from this webinar? What are three things that you want to grasp, take away from this? Because when you understand that, when you start to realize, if you go in looking for it, you'll be able to find it. So that's pretty important. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. I want to welcome everybody. Hey, happy Friday night. It's a little later on the East Coast, a little earlier on the West Coast. We've got a couple of people who've come in from over in Europe. They're having some great fun. I appreciate them taking some of the time out of their middle of the night. Mauritius is in the house. That's not the person, that's the island. Country of Mauritius. Let's see, who else is here? We've got some folks from Canada. We've got some folks from, we've got our East Coast posse in the house. There's some folks coming in from Washington State. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, one of the things you'll find out about me is that I'm pretty consistent about making sure we get stuff going. So we've got the recording going, great. Stop getting out of my own way, believing in myself. Yep, that's an awesome goal to have from this. All right, so if you're ready, in the chat box, type a Y. If you're ready to get started, you can either say I'm ready or just a Y for yes, let's get going. And we're going to do that. Y'all can see the brain who's in charge on your screen. Is that correct? Let's go back over here to the chat. So make sure you got a cup of coffee. Make sure you've got some water with you, or your company's energy drink. Wouldn't that be great? And we're going to get started here. So that being said, start the video recording. Let's see if get over here. Hey everyone, how are you? I'm going to take it off of the screen for a second, then I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. Let's go here, back to the gallery view. There we go. So hey everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing well. We're going to get started now. Tonight's about you. It really is. And because it's called goal setting, it's not about you. Let me explain. See, we want goals for ourselves. There's a part of us, though, that will do more for others than we will for ourselves. So if that's the case, if that's true, if we're going to do more for others than we will for ourselves, little feedback going on here. If we'll do more for others than we will for ourselves, then we've got some issues going on, and we've got to really go ahead and start taking control of what it is we need to do for ourselves. So let me, where's my share screen? Here we are. Let's go ahead and dive in to the workshop. So if you're ready, here we go. I see everybody here. Let me move this around. Okay. Hey, let's do this. Let's see this. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. So all that being said, all right, so we've got the brain. The brain, who's in charge? If most of us would say we're in charge, wouldn't we? Well, if we're in charge, then why do we have such a challenge? Why do we have such a difficult time realizing how to stay in control of our stuff? And our stuff is our thoughts and our concepts and our ideas. So what do we do next? Well, what we have to do next is we've got to decide what it is that we need to get done. And so let's take a look here. We're going to talk about personal goals and personal goal setting. There's a couple of things we can do. There's only really two things we can do when we want to set goals. One is either update old goals or create new goals. And what do we wind up doing more often? Well, we say we're going to create new goals. We say we're going to do things, but a lot of the goals that we set are old goals. So the question then is why do we fail? Why do we fall short? Why do we come up on the wrong side of a goal when we set it? See, here's the reality. Every day, every single day we're awake, every single moment we're breathing, we have a goal. Some kind of goal, right? To get out of bed, to go to eat, to drink some water, to go to the bathroom, right? We have these goals. They're called habits. And when we understand how fast we can habitualize to a particular situation, it's really important to grasp that we operate on a routine. So if we operate on a routine, the key is, what happens is that when we operate on a routine, we wind up not being able to break the routine. See, the brain, right? So the only reason any of us are here is because of our brain. Not because we set a goal. We set a goal first in our brain, and our brain reminded us, it read an email, it sent a link, it did whatever it did, but the brain said, you got to be here. So if that's the case, if it started with the brain, if it started with a memory, then why can't we break these habits that are called our past, that are called our personality, that are called our mood? So here's the thing. If we're updating old goals, it's a recommitment to a previous desire. Well, okay, 2018, this is the year I'm gonna make it, right? How many of us believe 2018 is gonna be the year of years? I do. I know it'll be better than last year. I know it'll be better than many other years. The reason I know that is because every year I know I get better. If we've set goals that we've had in the past, we have to change the state of mind, the neurons, right? We're going to get a little scientific here. The neuroplasticity, the science of the mind, the way the brain fires and wires and rewires and refires to keep these goals alive. Here's what I do know. That in order to achieve a new level of success, we have to become totally uncomfortable. I was listening to somebody the other day, and we were talking, we were having a conversation, and they said, why is it that when I sit in an audience of successful people, they always get up there and they tell me how much they failed. Well, nothing fails like success. See, if you figured out how to make $10 an hour, my guess is you've probably figured out how to spend more than $10 an hour, so therefore you had to increase your income. You were successful at $10 an hour, but that fails when you have to get to the next level. Same thing happens with every goal we have. What got you here can't get you out of here. Einstein said it. I don't know if he said it. I hear contradictions all the time, but here's what I believe he said. The problems of man can't be solved with the same mindset that created the problems. Does that make sense? But watch this. Watch this. Well, look at your screen. So if we go here and we say, come on, go ahead and move. How does it work? If how-tos worked, why would we ever need anything else? See, if how-tos worked, all of the content, 400 hours of YouTube videos are uploaded every hour. I mean, I saw a CEO of a company, Al Bala, posted out on a page that I'm on with him. It was every 12 months our total information doubles. Now they're saying it can get down as close to as 12 days. Every 12 days information is going to double. So watch this. If you want a goal set, if you want to create success, how old do you think the formula is for creating success? Richest man in Babylon? I don't know. That's pretty old. But watch this. Maybe you recognize this guy. Let's see if I can get him to play. Napoleon Hill over here.
It was in this field that I came upon a clue which has enabled me to help millions of people to find their earthly destinies. I want to describe my discovery in the simplest terms possible, because it will reveal to you why it is true that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, regardless of how many times you may have failed in the past or how lofty your aims and hopes may be. I caught my first fleeting glimpse of the profound law which provides the means by which we may choose our own purpose in life and attain it, while I was being coached by Andrew Carnegie during the organization of the Science of Success philosophy. I had just finished telling Mr. Carnegie that I feared he had chosen the wrong person to give the world the first practical philosophy of personal success because of my youth, my lack of education, and my lack of finances. Well, at this point, Mr. Carnegie delivered a lecture that I shall never forget, because it changed my entire life and paved the way for my helping to change the lives of millions of people, some of them not yet born. Let me call your attention to a great power which is under your control, said Mr. Carnegie, a power which is greater than poverty, greater than the lack of education, greater than all of your fears and superstitions combined. It is the power to take possession of your own mind and direct it to whatever ends you may desire. This profound...
How many times have we heard that? Here's Bob Proctor. Listen to this. All of this is available.
Do you know why most people don't reach goals? They keep it in the future. It's always out front. I'll be so happy and grateful when this happens. You've got to put it in present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am. Put the goal in the present tense. It's the image in your mind that's there now that begins to move into.
So
I have people tell me things like, well, Tony, you know, you're successful in your life because, you know, after all, you're so motivated. I'm just lazy. I tell people, you're not lazy. You just have infinite goals. What we want to do here is get some goals that'll drive you, some goals that got some power behind them. And the way to do that, realize that right now you're about to create a real future that can make a major difference for you. That right now you're not just writing words.
So, don't we understand all of that? Don't we know that we don't really need to be motivated? We think we need to be motivated. We bought into that concept of motivation. I can promise you, you don't need one more book. You don't need one more seminar. You really don't need to be here. The only reason you're here is hoping that you can hear a new formula, get a new key, get something that will unlock your personal greatness. The problem with 3%ers, and we're all 3%ers, listen carefully. The problem with 3%ers, and we are all 3%ers, is that 99% of them can't tell you how they did it. They get up there and they get on stage and they go, if I can do it, you can do it. No, you can't. I don't care if I gave you the exact blueprint of how to achieve the success I've achieved, you cannot do it. Because the fuel that you're using to use my formula is called you, and you are unique. So how do we get over this, Sean? What are you saying? I can't ever listen to anybody else? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that it's time for you to take action on you. It's time for you to believe in you. It's time for you to do the things you know you need to do. There's things right now. There's things today, tomorrow. There's still things tonight that you know you can do to move closer to your goal. If you agree with that, type a Y in the chat box. I'm telling you this because when you grasp the fact that you are in so much more control of you than you think you are, here's what happens. If you got up this morning, I gotta let you. We gotta get to this other video with Joe Dispenza. Let me find out where it is. Here it is. Now I want you to pay attention. This one I'm gonna let play. It's like 2.5 minutes. But I want you to listen with Joe Dispenza. I admire Joe and I appreciate his, but I love his. It resonates with me. May not with you, but so listen to what he's saying, what he's sharing about how and why people fall short of goals. You okay? You ready? You ready? Focus here. Get a drink of water. Do what it is, but I really want you to grasp this. Okay? So here we go. Play. Listen to this.
The moment you decide.
Why do we find this so hard?
Well, I can answer that very simply.
Yeah.
The hardest part about change, without a doubt, and I talk about this in my last book, Placebo, the hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before. Right. The moment you decide to no longer think the same way, make the same choice, behave the same way, have the same experience, or live by the same emotion, get ready because it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. You are stepping into the river of change. And the moment people start noticing that it doesn't feel good, they want to go back to do the very things that make them feel good again, which is they want to return back to their same chemical state. Going from the old self to the new self, crossing that river of change, is the biological, it is the neurological, it is the chemical, it is the hormonal, it is the genetic death of the old self. And most people, they'll say, yeah, I want to create a new life, but they cling to the familiar self and its emotions so much that the moment they stop feeling the same way as they always do, it starts feeling uncomfortable. The body, which is 95% of who we are, as the body as the mind, starts to send signals back to the brain that says, start tomorrow. This doesn't feel right. You'll never change. It's too much like your mother. That's the body sending signals back to the brain so that then the person listens to that voice, that thought, that sub-vocalization as if it's true. And that thought will always lead to the same choice, which will lead to the same behavior, which will create the same experience, and it'll produce the same feeling, and they'll say, this feels right. No. That feels familiar.
Yeah.
And people don't believe that they can go from here to here because when they're in that unknown, when they're in that void, they can't predict their future. So the moment they can't predict their future, they go back to what they know. You know,
of course.
The best way to predict your future is to create it, right? But not in the known, but in the unknown. So when you get comfortable in the unknown and you're willing to keep your vision on the other side, whatever that new self is, whether it looks a certain way, whether it feels a certain way, whether there's a certain amount of success, whatever that model that your brain can create, if you don't keep that vision alive, and that vision isn't real, you are going to always return back to the old self. So self-sabotage really is returning back to what feels familiar because at least you can predict that. People would rather hold on to their guilt because if they feel guilty, they didn't know who they would be. You know, I mean, it's just kind of
So, how many of us feel that that's kind of something that we're used to doing? So, how does this pattern of failure take over? It's called a success formula. Listen carefully. Are you getting this? Is this making sense? I know you're writing some notes. Hopefully you're writing some notes. But I want to look over at the other screen. Just hit some yeses so that I know you're still hearing this and this is making sense. There we go. Good. Okay, I say thanks, Tony. Troy, appreciate you. Callie, thanks. Sally, appreciate you. Tony, appreciate you. All right. Okay, great. Love it. Love all the yeses. Hey, so here's the thing. Listen to this. Listen carefully. I get so excited with this. Watch this. You want to hear a success formula that made us addicts? Now, when we think of addiction, I do a whole nother training. I did a training for one of Tony Robbins' Firewalker communities, North Texas Firewalkers. Amazing community here in Dallas. I did a thing on the psychological blueprint of success, and that's what we're talking about here. So listen to this. Watch this. before we were able to communicate in this verbal communication level, right? Dads, we had a while before we could understand what oohs and ahs and goo-goos and gagas and what kind of cry was a cry for hunger, or they had to go to the, did number 2 in the diaper, right? Mom picked up on all these signals. Mom and baby could communicate pretty quick. Dad came along fairly, not much more, long after that, right? But here's the thing, if we are the baby, and we know that we want to get attention, we do something, we cry. And when we start to understand that if we cry and we get picked up, we stop crying, that worked. Grabbing attention worked. Now, if we kept on crying, it created more bad vibes, right? Mom still was mad. But then we started to be able to communicate. We started to be able to verbalize. It didn't matter what language we learned to verbalize in. We learned to create sounds in our throat, come out of our mouth, the cake hole, right? And we were able to create sound that our parents could interpret. And then the way we realized that we could have a good life, the way we realized we could be happy in life is if we made them happy. I remember picking up weeds, right? Going to pick a little dandelion or a weed out of the garden or somewhere and giving it to my mom, and mom going, "Aww." See, I was addicted to that approval. This was part of our DNA. This was started all of a sudden. This was our success mechanism that worked for us. Then what happened is we went to school, we went to kindergarten, and if we played with the blocks or we stacked the blocks up. Now I'm going to date myself. Some of you on this call may not know what this is, but does anybody ever does anybody remember banging out the erasers on the chalkboard? Does anybody remember that? If you remember that, type yes. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, banging erasers out on a chalkboard, then say, no idea. I see some yeses. Okay, cool. But here's the thing. But we did that because then the teacher would do what? Give us a little star, tell our parents how cool we are. I used to get that a lot. Maybe that's where my programming came from. Here's my point. So in school it worked, and then as we got older and we had to bring home grades, we didn't bring home E's for excellence or whatever, we started to get grades. And when we got grades in school, all of a sudden then we had to bring home better grades than our brother or sister or whatever, or we weren't as good as our brother or sister. How many was that child? How many of us were that child? We weren't as good as that child. And we were compared to them, their level of success. They set the benchmark. Then we go to work, we get a job, we go get our first job. We want to make sure the manager likes us because mom and dad said if you don't get a job, you're not getting any more money. So we want to make sure now we're in this, I got to keep my job, and all through life. So first job, second job, third job, 20th job, change careers. Our formula for success is I got to make sure you like me. Is that really the best formula for success? Here's the challenge. It's a formula that we've adopted to survive. It's the only formula that society will let us win with. Now, there's people out there, we all know people who are out there who are the biggest a-holes, and they're out there and we would never, ever, ever want to be with like them, and they make tons of money and they have tons of stuff that we go, man, they're just the biggest jerk, but they got all this stuff. Isn't it funny how sometimes life shows back up and does a course correction, does a life adjustment for them? I'm not saying they deserve it. I'm not saying anybody does deserve it, but you know, there's a thing called karma, and if I do harm to you, it's probably going to come back to me. So what do we do with that? So next slide. Let's keep on moving. Let's see where's this taking us now. So there's 5 goals, right? 5 areas, 5 pillars of health that we talk about, and in these 5 pillars of health, there's a couple of things to be aware of. How come you're not working now? So anyway, so now I got to let me take this with me over here. So 5 pillars of health. There's physical goals. Now I'm going to go through these kind of quick because we all know there's these areas of life. We all know there's physical goals. We all know there's financial goals, right? We all know that there's society goals. Maybe we don't. I don't know. Maybe we don't think about it as much. But see, any moment that you're alive, you're breathing, you're in one of these areas. There's mental goals. We've got to do stuff for our mind. We spend more, listen, statistics say we spend more on the outside of our head than we do on the inside of our head. I think most of us on this call would agree with that. They say the average person spends about $700 on the outside of their head every year. Haircuts, salons, coloring. Do you like the gray I have? That's all color. But one of the things I would suggest here in these mental goals, Darren Hardy talks about it all the time. We probably have all heard it before, the 90 minutes of success. Block off 90-minute sections of your life. I promise you, if you did that twice a day, you would do more in the next month than you have in the last year. But Sean, you don't know how busy I am. No, I know how busy you are. I know how active you are versus the results you're getting. We're all in that same boat. 90 minutes, that's easy to do. Tomorrow, set an alarm, 90 minutes, and just work feverishly focused on a particular topic. And in 20 minutes, you'll be going, oh my God, only 20 minutes has gone by? These are the things that happen. Family goals. One of the things I would suggest is figure out a way to create some memories. Big memories. Call them, send them a card, do something. But learn to create memories. Now, we're going to go more into the 5 pillars, and then the sixth pillar that's very important to me and my family, maybe yours as well, is spiritual. Spending time understanding how greatness and creativity and joy comes through me and how I'm a vessel for all of that. But here's the thing I really want to talk about. Is this making sense? Type a yes if it's making sense. If you got questions, go ahead and type it. I can't really read it, but if I see something more than a yes, I'll go over there and read it and we'll talk about it. But here's why I'm sharing all of this with you. There's a lot where this is fire hose, baby. I really want you to get this because this is what Goal Addicts 2018 is all about. It's not about this webinar. It's about taking every one of these and diving into them 7, 8, 9 layers deep to get to a cellular level of understanding and comprehension that gives you a new awakening that allows you to now begin to control the 100,000 actions that take place in every cell in your body per second. Wouldn't that be neat to start to have some control over ourselves? So here's what I really want you to grasp. We're going to spend some time on this because this is critical. One of the things in the book called Influence is this area called right here, success. Well, it's not called success as a math problem. It's the 6 areas of influence. Now stay there. Folks, you really need to get this. I take that back. I can talk to Mason that way. I can't talk to you that way. I'm going to suggest you get really focused and listen to these next couple of minutes. What time is it? Okay, we're happy. So we're probably going to spend the rest of the workshop, rest of the seminar on this. And here's why. When you understand, how many of us have ever been employed and you've ever had the company set a goal for sales, right? A lot of us come out of this powerful profession of network marketing, and our companies sometimes have incentive trips, right? Reach the Diamond Grand Poobah level and you go on an amazing trip. There's a couple of people on here that I know just came back from a mega Hawaii trip from their company. After 20 years, they've been on it every time, but it was an amazing trip. I was surprised how long it was. Let me just put it that way. What an incredible trip the company gave. Here's my point. If we've ever gone for a sales goal, the company says, if you do X, you're going to get an extra $100, $1,000 bonus, figure it out. And people get all excited. Oh my gosh, do you know how much money we can make with this? And they don't make a penny. Because they only focused on 1, maybe 2, if they're really, really good. They focused on 3 of the 6 areas of influence. You see them here? You're writing them down? The 6 areas of influence are personal motivation. Let's go into that. Personal motivation. Making the undesirable desirable. What did Joe Dispenza just talk about in that little video where he talked about if you're comfortable, if you're okay, you're not in new. So here's something he said in a seminar. How many of you believe your thoughts can influence your day? Now, I'm not even going to ask you to type a yes on that because I recognize 80% of the names that are on here, and we all believe that our thoughts can influence our day. So how many of us sat down this morning to write out what was the lane, what was the channel we were going to let our thoughts stay in? How many of us went off on thoughts where, whether we were watching the news about the president or something, the lava flow over in the Philippines, or somebody in our business quit, or somebody in our business got excited and got started. See, I don't know if it's Jim Rohn or was it, I think it's Jim Rohn. Nothing's ever as good as it is and nothing's ever as bad as it is. See, if you can determine, if you can start to realize that your personal motivation is keep it here, because when you come up to these moments that you've got to go jump in the ice cold water, how many of you right now would, and there's a couple of you on here I think actually did this, how many of you, if they said, listen, I'll give you $100 if you go jump in the lake with the Polar Bear Club tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Some of you are just crazy enough, you do it. Yeah, who'd do that? Of course, I knew you would, Troy. Oh, heck yeah, Troy would do that in a second. Well, he's lives in negative 52 degree weather anyways. So, but here's the point. $100, you wouldn't do it. But I bet I could get you to do it for free. How many of you want to take that bet? I've got one of your children who won't make it to see the sunset tomorrow. How many of you would now jump in the lake and you'd stay there for 10 minutes? If one of your family's lives were on the line, wouldn't you do that instantly now? There wouldn't even be a question. Y'all get this? It was the same cold water tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Now you jump in like that because what did we do? What does it say on your screen? Personal motivation, making the undesirable desirable. Where does desire come from? Within. You want to understand how to unlock your greatness? Figure out what you don't like and then say, screw it. I got to keep it PG. You get it? We can make the undesirable, we can make it joyful if we have the right motivation. What is your motivation? What is the motivation you're going to use? Is your motivation to get you out of debt, to create wealth? Is it to help a family member, to prove you can do it? Is it to travel, pay for college, pay for somebody else's college, pay for kids' college, grandchildren's college? See, when we realize that if I had $1,000 and 1,000 hours, which would I give to charity? If you had 1,000 hours and $1,000, which would you give to charity? Well, probably the $1,000. Well, what if you only had 10 hours and you could afford the $1,000? Which would do them better? See, it's called the law of reciprocity. If I were to go to the Arctic and I found an Inuit person, an Inuit Eskimo, and I said, hey, I want that coat and I'll give you I'll give you a whiteboard for your fur coat. Think he'd take it? But what if I gave him a whiteboard that was worth $10,000? The whiteboard was worth $10,000 and his coat was worth $250. Think he'd take it? He's got no need for it. How many times are we doing things that the universe has no need for? That our family has no need for, that society has no need for, that our physical body has no need for. You get this? But what if I gave him a rifle that I picked up at the Army-Navy store? If you could do that, I don't think you can buy guns there, but maybe you could. But if I got this amazing rifle with an incredible scope, and I paid $50 for it. And it was 10 times better than the rifle he had. Do you think he'd give me the jacket now? Law of reciprocity. The reason we feel stress, the reason our personal stress eats at us and just grinds at us on a daily basis is when our thoughts and our actions don't equal our results. It's the law of reciprocity. We haven't put enough in to get what we want out. Y'all getting this? Is this making sense? Is this worth inviting people to Goal Addicts 2018? Because as this video will go up there, and as we go into this more in depth, and as we start to, I'm going to ask you this. We're a community. There is no company. There is no age. There is no location. There is no awareness or knowledge or lack of knowledge. We're all here for the same dang reason. To be more, to have more, to do more. And when we wrap our arms around that, the wealth of experience, there's over 500 years of experience. If I'm not that good, 600 years of experience just on this little webinar. Come on. We got to share. Step up, step out, step in to your life. So what's next? Personal. So we had personal motivation. Now I can get motivated. Do I have the skill sets to do it? How many of you feel, honestly, nobody else can, I don't think anybody else, can you all see each other's chat, or am I the only one that can see the chat? I think I'm the only one that can see the chat. Just say all can or no one can. Somebody type that in there for me. Okay, all of you can. Great. Great. So here's where we're going to step up, step out, and step in a little bit. I'm going to put you on the spot. How many of you feel in the next 24 hours you can do something better than you've ever done before? I don't care if it's cooking. I don't care if it's walking 2 miles versus 1 mile. But how many of you, type a yes or a no, how many of you feel that you can surpass one of the things that you do so well? God, I love it. Look at it. I love it. Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. So here's the thing. What the bejeebies are we waiting for? You see, so I'll tell you what I did. This webinar is done, the tech behind it, it's called Prezi, P-R-E-Z-I, I think. I've had it for probably 5 years, and it was always way too complicated for me. I have spent the entire day putting this presentation together, not the content, trying to figure out how to move these freaking circles around. But I was trying to make them move. When all I got to do, watch. All I got to do is go, boop. Did it just change on your screen? See, I was making it too hard. How many times do we limit our ability? We don't surpass our capability because we're making it too hard? Oh. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you for being here. So listen. So we had personal ability. We got personal motivation. Those are 2 out of the 6. That'd be 6. Here's where the next part comes in, social motivation. See, this wasn't a huge factor 20 years ago. Now, I'm not saying peer pressure wasn't a huge factor 20 years ago, but I didn't have 30,000 friends 20 years ago. I still don't have 30,000 friends. I've got, if I were to add up all my social media, there's 30,000. If you add up all the numbers, but I bet I have 10 times more friends than I would have had we not had things like social media. I have I probably have 500 to 600 new friends who I really know. I mean, I may not have had dinner with them. There's people I haven't met. I have yet to ever shake their hand in 10 years. Social motivation. How do we harness peer pressure? Does anybody feel, and again, this is us being open, this is us being raw and real, and as soon as we can do that, we can start to break through some habits. How many of us feel sometimes addiction to approval? We're worried about what other people think. I know I am. I absolutely. So how do we harness peer pressure? We got to be in the right peers. Get that? We got to be around the right peers. See, I'm blessed as a dad. Mason's 14 years old, and I got to tell you, I hope I don't start crying. I got to tell you, I'm so proud of him because he will avoid conflict. And if somebody's doing something wrong, he will call them out. Now, thank God he's as big as I am, so most people are intimidated by him. But I can tell you this, the peers that he hangs around, the people in school in eighth grade, some of them are just, I'm just going to leave it at that. They're fascinating at many levels. And for him to continue to be this resource of joy and goodness and goofiness, I'm absolutely so proud of him. So we've got to be around the right peers. I know that Michelle and I have done some things that have poured into him, that have allowed him to have this resource. Now, don't get me started on his hair. That's a whole other thing. He's got something new going on there. But you know what? I'm okay with it. If that's the thing that allows him to stand up, stand tall, be happy, and be different, be him, awesome. I couldn't pull that off. There's a lot of things I can pull off, but that peer pressure, my peers wouldn't. No. If I showed up with it's not really a man bun, but anyways, it's like hair in a ponytail up here. Yeah, y'all be sending me to the hospital. So how do we harness peer pressure? Find a group of people. That's what I want to do with this Goal Addicts 2018. I want us to find a group of people who will push each other and pull each other and inspire each other. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, type a yes. Okay, cool. All right. So listen, do you see the formula that's happening here? It's about motivation and ability. The first two were personal motivation and personal ability. What skills do you have to get? What do you have to inspire yourself to do? Who do you need to talk to? Now we're talking about social peer pressure. If you spend a lot of time on Facebook and it doesn't produce, my dad always said this, I don't care what you do as long as it produces income. Figure out a way to make money on it. So what do? Income producing activities. So the peer pressure would be create your group, create your community. There's nobody they can Google. There's not a single person on here, including myself, that somebody couldn't Google and find out the content of what it is we have in our brain. It's impossible to have something that's so nobody will ever know about it that it's not in somewhere in the ether of the web. But what they can't Google and what they can't find is you, the way you interpret it. So create your peer pressure. Create the peer pressure that drives you. Find that community that's willing to step up, stand out, and help you out, help you get to the next level. Push you up, right? I don't care if they're pushing up, holding your butt up and getting you up there, and there's a group pulling you up. And then find strength in numbers. How many of us have ever heard the phrase Sinaloa? Sinaloa. Strength in numbers, law of averages. Your social ability is to find strength in numbers. So social motivation, find your peer pressure, but strength in numbers is a community like Goal Addicts. It's a community like Tony Robbins. It's a community like Bob Proctor or Joe Dispenza or Noah St. John, Dr. Wayne Dyer. It's a community of strength in numbers. It's your next convention. It's your next conference call, strength in numbers. Y'all get this? When we circle in space and time and we sync in energy, neural resonance, these are all science things, neural resonance, when I start to feel the same way you feel and we're thinking the same thing, that does amazing things for our DNA and for our body. So here's the last two. These are tough ones. See, this is where most companies fall apart. They don't deal with the structural motivation. There's companies I know, there's 50, 60, 70,000 people, 80,000 people in their organization or in their company. I know people who have 500,000 people in their organization, and they put a post out on Facebook and they got 6 likes. They got 60 likes. If they do something a little bit confrontational, they'll get 600. I've got 4,000 people on my personal page, 9,000 on my fan page, and I get 5 likes. I don't engage that much on my fan page. I do a lot more over here. But there's a lot of people who I let in that because I thought it'd be cool to get to 5,000. See, that was my personal motivation. My ability was short, easy, click like, let them in. None of us get paid for having 5,000 people on our Facebook page. So I got rid of 1,000. Some new people are coming in. I'm not accepting everybody. So my structural motivation is, can they bring value to me? Will they bring value? So I private message them and say, listen, I saw you wanted to connect. I'd love to do that. What kind of content could you bring to my community? Because folks, I don't care if I got down to 5 people. I don't know who said it, but they say that if you have 1,000 raving fans, you'll never have to work another day in your life. Fans will do. You say, I'm going to sell an ebook for $8.95. You'll have 1,000 of them sold. So how do you go find your fans? What's your structural motivation that's going to allow people for you to motivate? So mine was Goal Addicts 2018. That's why I put this in place. Everybody said, all of my friends, all of my mentors, my board of directors said, you got to stop giving it away every place else, and you got to create a community of psychographic people, not psychedelic, most of you are, but psychographic, the way they think, and bring them into your fold. Am I going to start selling stuff in here? I've got a book coming out at the end of the month. That's another mentorship book. Yeah, there's going to be some things. I'm going to offer some products. Why? Because I can. Because it'll bring value. You get it? So that's structural motivation. Here's the next thing. Design rewards demand accountability. That makes sense? And then here's the last one. Change the environment. See, I want to do lives with each of you on here. I want you to step up and talk about your goals. Ask for help. Because I can promise you, this community, there's enough people right here, right now, for us to all triple our business. Not double, triple our business with the experience and the capacity to help one another. Really, I'm serious. I know this to be true. I've seen it time and time again. Is this making sense? I mean, there's more to this. My goal is, I'm like, man, I don't know if that's going to be enough information. So let me go back to this slide so that we can see what all of those are, just in case you missed it. So success is a math problem. We got to work on all 5 of those areas. So resources. I'm going to put more stuff up. There's another little thing, but I've got about 35 books that I'm pulling all of this content from. This is one. This comes from the book Influence. Let me just be clear. If you want to go read it, great. You'll read it. You'll interpret it. You'll interpolate it. You'll make it your own. But I don't want that distraction of newness, right? The shiny thing, squirrel. I don't want that to keep you from starting on you. I've got some very dear friends who we've taken our kind of relationship to the next level, and I've asked them to do some things, and it was a little stretch to get things started. Why? Because it was a paradigm shift. It was real easy to do, but it caused a lot of focus. And in causing that focus, it created a lot of confusion. So we don't need a distraction of something that's easy. Right? What did it say in personal motivation? Make the undesirable desirable. How many of us would feel great if we went and read another awesome book? I do. My goal is to take it, and I can spend, Michelle has seen me do this, where I'll read a paragraph and I'll come up with 300 things out of that one paragraph. Because my goal when I read it is to be able to disseminate it and turn it into something that's valuable to my audience, to my friends, to my family, teaching lessons for Mason. I got to tell you, it's not always, it's pretty cool being my son, but it's not always easy being my son. Because there's a level of my experience that I command that he have, and sometimes I get sideways with that. Is it the right thing? Well, I've never had a 14-year-old that's almost 15, and tomorrow I'll be a new dad, and the next day I'll be a new dad, and the next day I'll be a new dad, because I've never experienced this before. Every day with him is a new joy. I do understand that if I keep some roots in place and some focus in place, that I can do my best, right? What's my vision? What's my mission? Is to be a better dad, better husband. So you'll see all of the resources go up inside of Goal Addicts 2018. I just don't want them to be a distraction. I don't want them to be the shiny coin. I'd love for us to have dialogues. I'll go through each book. We'll do trainings on each book. We'll do awakenings on each book, right? Emerson said, I'm not a teacher, I'm an awakener. That's what I've chosen to tag myself, an awakener. Not that I'm an Emerson. I can barely spell Emerson. But my goal is, I am not smart enough to teach you, but I am smart enough to awaken you to what you already know you can do in the next 24 hours. Make sense? What questions do you have? If you got questions on this, type them in here. The recording will go up here afterwards, but if you got questions, type them in here. If you've got anything. If we don't, then I'm going to ask you this. What have you learned? What have you liked? Now, some of you I've spent time with on the phone. We've had conversations, and I always ask that, and you're like, ugh, what did I learn, what I like? When we do this inside of a community, when I ask, what did you learn, what did you like, it's not to feed me, although it helps me get better. It's because people in Florida will see things different than people where it's 7 feet deep in snow, just because we're different. So when I ask, what did you learn, what did you like, I want you to do it in that order. I learned, I liked. Is that okay if I ask you to do that? I hope it is. Has this been valuable? Y'all getting this? I appreciate you spending your Friday evening with me. So, any questions before we wrap up? I don't see anything going in the chat box. Can you all still hear me? Hit a yes if you can hear me. Okay, good. So, now, cool. So yeah, start to think about what you learn, what you like. And again, I put it in here. Yeah, there you go. Yep, learning that, making that undesirable desirable. So Paulette, I'm going to call you out a little bit. Paulette is absolutely amazing. The things she's done in over the last 18 months, maybe it's, I don't know if it's even been that long, that we've known each other, to watch this woman of passion and desire and just total elegance. Watch her step out to be so totally uncomfortable. Now, you'd never know it looking at her. But oh my gosh. Doing videos, setting the stage, staging the videos, having a little shape over here and a color over here. I mean, I just got to congratulate you on that. Learned about the habitual habits. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, thank you, everybody. There's awesome words that come from her. Yep. I don't know about 6 areas of influence. I got to tell you, how many of us can look at a family member and say, I love you without saying a word? How many of us would love to be able to look at people and give them such a feeling that they would say, I don't know what it is you're doing, but I got to do what you do? We're going to get there. I'm going to get you there. I'm going to teach you how to be you at such a high state of vibration that people are drawn to you. Would that be cool? I think so. I appreciate you all. I love you so very much. Thank you for allowing me into your homes. Thank you for allowing me to do what I love to do, be a better dad, better husband. Here's the cool thing. On the other side of that wall is my bride and son, and I could hear myself when I got excited sometimes because they've been watching as well. How cool is that? How freaking cool is that? Thanks for letting us all do it. Let's go make today a better day. Let's make tonight a better night. Let's make dream well. Journal. Journal tonight. Say, these are the things I learned and these are the things I want from tomorrow, because journaling is a whole nother hour-long conversation. Is that okay? I love you all. I'll see you all where? At the next event. Invite people you know. Just don't invite people nilly-willy into the group. This is a community. Invite people you know that you can say, I have the opportunity to invite you into this community. Will you participate? Because I can promise you, if you're not participating in here in a month, I'm just going to take you. I'm not trying to get a list of people in here. I'm not trying to get a count in here. I'm trying to get people I am getting people in here who want more, who want to be more, do more, and have more. I love you all. I'll see you where? At the next event. Till then, bye for now. Yay. Where's my keyboard? My keyboard's over here. Y'all are awesome. Thank you. Stop sharing. And meeting for all.